having a thick skin has really helped me because having in boarding school in England, I went to a Quaker school. I was exposed to racism. But I quickly realized that for me to succeed, I had to focus on why my parents had spent so much money sending me to an expensive boarding school in Saffron Walden. So I grew a thick skin because I didn't want to be distracted. And then when I got to Queen Mary University of London, we were only 2 ladies in a class of 50, civil and structural engineering. Discrimination came again, and focus. Same thing worked. Got a first class, moved on to University of Bradford, where I did my PhD. I was the only female in a group of 11, so we're 12 in that cohort. So growing a thick skin is very important.
You're listening to the Life and Leadership Podcast, where leaders from across the globe share openly about the trials, triumphs, and lessons learned along the leadership journey. Whether you're a seasoned, new, or aspiring leader, get ready to receive powerful insights and practical takeaways to help you grow in your leadership. And now, here is your host, Mary Eniolu.
Welcome to the Life and Leadership Podcast. It is such a joy to have with me today Dr. Ibilola Amao, the Principal Consultant of Lonadak Global Services. With over 3 decades of engineering and entrepreneurship experience in the energy, power, infrastructure, oil, gas, and renewable sectors, Ibilola is focused on solving sustainability, energy security, and resource optimization problems through innovation using technology solutions. A fellow of Queen Mary University in London and a board member of several organizations, she's a committed change agent who invests her time in human capital development and continuing professional development initiatives. Through the activities of Lonadak, Ibilola has trained over 15,000 engineers and empowered over 100,000 STEM talent since 1991. Ibilola, welcome to the Life and Leadership Podcast. It's such a pleasure to finally have you on.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your patience in getting me on.
I know it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. I would just like to ask you to start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, so my name is Ibilola Amao. I'm the Principal Consultant at Lonadak Global Services. We're an engineering technology, asset performance improvement, and information management solutions company. We've been in business for 33 years.
Wow.
I'm the 3rd child in a family of 6 children. Was encouraged by my late father to pursue my dream and my passion for science, technology, engineering, and maths, even though I was a very brilliant art student as well. And it's been a journey of overcoming obstacles to become a female business owner in a male-dominated space. And I must say it's probably been a wonderful adventure with 2020 vision hindsight. It's been a real adventure.
That's interesting. And I love that you said, even though you were great at art as well, because I really think it's important that we own our strengths. It's important that we acknowledge the things we're good at. People, and I dare say, usually females, we tend to shy away from owning our shine, like I like to say. So I just love the fact that you acknowledged that you're good at what you do. But just going back to science and technology, like you say, that's a reasonably male-dominated field. At the moment, you run your own consultancy, but did you ever work? Were you ever employed, or did you just straight out the gates go into your own business?
Okay, so fantastic question there. Yes, the good news is after my first degree, I got a first class in civil and structural engineering, went straight on to a PhD, with at University of Bradford. My first class was Queen Mary University of London. My late father insisted that even though I was a PhD and I had excelled in my research, I should go back and train to become a chartered engineer. So I signed up as a graduate trainee even after my PhD, joining BScs in a cohort for 18 months in the design office and 18 months on site. And that was a fantastic experience where I saw the length, breadth, and depth of different applications of engineering technology, engineering principles, and worked in different departments, exposure in the design office, exposure on site. And at the end of the day, I had a clear vision about what I liked and what I didn't like. So I'm really grateful for those 3 years of graduate training. And I always encourage females in STEM to please sign up for a graduate training or continuous professional development program so they can actually decide quite early where they would flourish in their careers. So I did work for Baptist and Morton Consulting Engineers based in Wakefield, Westgate. Then they've been taken over now. And then I returned to Nigeria, served on the National Youth Service Corps, worked as an associate lecturer with the University of Lagos. And then I started my business just before my youth service course. So it was a mix and match, but I'm very grateful for the fact that I actually worked in a structured organization, understood how an organization runs, could see the different dimensions of the practice, the knowledge, skills, and good practice I was going to implement as a female engineer. And that really gave me a clear roadmap as to what I liked and what I didn't like and what kind of career I intended to pursue. So I think having worked for organizations was extremely useful. When I started my own business, I had an idea of what running an organization was about.
That's really interesting. I mean, why do you think your father insisted you get on that graduate program?
I believe my late father, who was a civil and structural engineer himself, had gone through a graduate training program. And it takes going through a graduate training program to really understand the value. The first thing is you would have to keep a diary, you'd have to write reports, you'd have to engage with your supervisor, whether on site or in the design office, and then you'll be working towards points, continuous professional development qualification points. And that really gives you the hunger for knowledge. And it's quite humbling because you're in a continuous learning and development mode. And that's basically sets the foundation for who you are and what you do and how you function in your career. And I think this was so important, and I'm terribly, terribly grateful. And that's why I spend so much time and energy mentoring, coaching, and encouraging young professionals today to embark on the journey of continuous professional development if they want to succeed in their careers.
Awesome. So you got a first class. You worked for a while, you go on the graduate training program.
I got a first class, then went for a 3-year PhD program.
Yeah, okay.
And then upon completing that, I signed up for a graduate training program.
So in a sense, almost taking a step back.
Oh, no, a huge step back, because I had to take a salary cut. My salary was about a third of what I could earn as a PhD. Rather than being a leader in my area of core competence and PhD qualification, which was a novel area, computer-aided design and drafting, I had to humble myself and become a graduate trainee. And I had to become a very, very green professional, starting right at the bottom of the ranks in an engineering consulting company. So I was doing things like plan printing, folding drawings, running errands. And, it didn't really matter to me then. And thank God for that, because my supervisors were probably less knowledgeable about my area of core competence where I studied my PhD. And at some point when they had problems in computer-aided design solutions, I was a consultant to them, even though I was a graduate trainee. So it was quite a mix. But I think that was really, really important for me, because I learned to keep whatever I knew separate from what I didn't know. I learned to be humble and to be able to take instructions and learnings from people who had experience and expertise I lacked. And I learned to see what different functions existed and what different roles and activities existed in an engineering consulting company. And that has really helped me with growing my own business.
So what would you say has been the highlight of your career to date?
Basically debunking the fact that diversity is a problem, color is a problem. So these are the areas where with persistence, hard work, divine providence, I've been able to overcome challenges. I have had to grow a very thick skin and not even worry about whether I was the only Black or the only woman in the room, especially in board situations. And that has really, really helped me. So I think the legacy I'm trying to leave behind is for the young Black girl who wants to excel as a STEM talent. It's possible to excel, own your own business, run your own business, and do very well nationally, regionally, and globally if you're persistent, remain focused, and lean on people in your immediate community who genuinely want to help you.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. If you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. That will help us bring more inspiring conversations to you and reach more people. And if you know of a leader that should be featured on the Life and Leadership podcast, please reach out to us with their details. We would love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and what are the challenges you've had to overcome to get to where you are today.
So my business has grown organically, and this is because the focus has always been applying the knowledge, the skills, and the good practice that I have gained over the years in my immediate community and in the sectors where we play. It's also been about problem solving. So we identify problems, issues, challenges, pain points of our customers and our clients, and we provide products and services to mitigate them. So I've leveraged my experience and expertise in terms of having a qualification in an engineering discipline, civil and structural engineering, a doctorate in computer-aided design and drafting, and then I specialized in 3D modeling of oil and gas facilities. So upon returning to Nigeria, I realized there was a huge gap between the application of technology and providing engineering deliverables. So I bridged the gap there by training nationals to use computer-aided design and drafting systems. And over the time, we've moved into training them to use 3D modeling engineering solutions. So right now, what we do for IOCs like Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil, Total, and even independents like Seplat, First EMP, Walter Smith, what we do at the moment is translate their physical assets into digital assets as 3D models. We also enable them access digital twins, which reduces their logistics costs. And we identify, develop, and engage talent for them as systems integrators to deploy state-of-the-art technologies. So our business also involves identifying, developing, and engaging talent to build their capacity, capability, and competence. So we've had to work with universities, bridging the gap between industry and academia, recruiting, training, engaging in innovative human capital development initiatives, putting young talent on internship programs, continuous professional development programs, basically empowering them, educating them, enlightening them, engaging them, and empowering them to deploy their skills and competencies to run efficient and profitable businesses of our clients and customers. So it's for me, it's such an adventure, connecting a lot of dots and drawing from my qualifications, my experience, my exposure, my network to create a better and brighter future for young STEM talent.
That's amazing. That really is. It's endearing to hear that, but very bold steps, I would say. So I'm going to ask you. This is a Life and Leadership podcast. So what was your first experience of leadership? Would you say when you got into leadership, what was that first role and how did you find it?
So my first role as a leader was when I was charged with the responsibility to train the first 67 engineers recruited by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation in the use of computer-aided design and drafting systems for the Chevron Escravos gas project phase 1 in 1992-93. Chevron was planned to build a gas plant in Nigeria. Normally, the 3D modeling and the engineering design work would have been done in Houston, but the Nigerian government partnered with Bechtel Inc. to domicile the project in Nigeria, and they recruited 67 of the brightest engineers they could find who had good engineering knowledge and experience, but couldn't use computers. So I had to bring my experience from the UK back to Nigeria to train those engineers on various projects to build their capacity, capability, and competence ahead of the implementation of that project. It was a successful project at the end of the day. We won the Queen's Award for successful delivery of the project. But just even taking a Nigerian engineer who is very experienced but had never had the opportunity to use computers to provide solutions and exposing them to computer-aided design and drafting, which is what my PhD was in, was such a refreshing experience. So I felt it was worth my while coming back to Nigeria and bringing the knowledge I had acquired over the years and sharing that knowledge with Nigerians. And I must tell you, today, 33 years after the business was set up, using computers is such a common knowledge all over the place. Design using computer-aided solutions is all over the place. We have experts we have trained over the years. We've exposed over 15,000 engineers to these solutions. So we have executives today in the United Arab Emirates, Aberdeen, Houston, Canada, Calgary, even the Far East, who were trained locally in Nigeria doing awesome things. And it just gives me so much joy when I run into these engineers, either when I'm traveling or when they're back in Nigeria or when we're at conferences or seminars, and they share the experience of adopting technology and deploying technology. And I feel so grateful that I was part of their journey.
That's amazing. So let me just ask then, what was it though, stepping into that role of leadership? So prior to that time, you've never had the opportunity to lead a team. Did you find it exciting? Did you find it challenging? Did you feel out of your depth? What really helped you excel on the leadership side?
So it was quite challenging because the job I took over was previously a Bechtel role. And because Bechtel was the technology transfer partner. So it was quite shocking to the males in Bechtel who felt that was their role, to find a young Nigerian lady returning from the UK and claiming she had expertise in an area where they felt they had monopoly of the knowledge. So it was by divine providence I showed up at that time. And even though the gentleman there, Paul Gidley, had issues trying to explain his knowledge to Nigerians, because I was a Nigerian and I probably had more experience in that particular area, it was a lot easier for me to do that. So I had to earn the trust of the Bechtel team. I was not knowledgeable about oil and gas, and I had to collaborate with the gentleman whose job I took over to get him to share his knowledge with me while I shared my knowledge with him. And for me, the fundamentals I learned at that point in time is that you really need to be a team-oriented person to succeed as a leader. I had to make adjustments from the fact that he had strengths where I had weaknesses and I had strengths where he had weaknesses. And it was not going to be possible to get the project successfully delivered if we were at loggerheads. We had to build a relationship and build trust into that relationship over time. And even though he was leaving, I had to assure him that he was not going to leave in a way whereby what he was leaving behind was going to be a disaster, that I was going to take full responsibility for the gaps that he had left. And I needed him to please onboard me properly in his area of core competence. And even when he left, he was going away with more knowledge in my area of core competence, which he was able to deploy in his next role where he went. So that showed me that leadership is about building trust, transactional, not compromise, negotiations in terms of trading off what you have for what you need, and basically convincing the other party that you're not necessarily a threat,
Yes.
but the outcome of both of you joining forces to collaborate would be much better than if both of you were at loggerheads. So I had to develop emotional intelligence, some negotiation skills, and have the bigger holistic picture of Nigeria succeeding on a gas project, and helping him understand that if I shared my knowledge with you, you are free to take my knowledge wherever you're going next. And if you shared your knowledge with me, when you left, I was going to be a better resource to the project you were committed to anyway. So that was one of the key learnings I got from that experience. And I just realized that for every problem you're confronted with, you need a lot of wisdom and divine support to overcome those problems and probably transform them into opportunities and a better outcome.
So lots of things you said there, actually. I mean, you talked about the power of collaboration and creating a win-win for everyone involved as much as you can. So it wasn't that kind of reduces the threat, I suppose you could put it like that, because if I see what I'm getting from being collaborative rather than trying to hoard my knowledge, then it makes it easier for me to open up and share my knowledge. And that is so powerful, because very often this competition and this competing with others and comparing ourselves with others and wanting to keep what we have comes out of that space of scarcity, as it were, and feeling like if I give this other person my knowledge, then they're going to be better than me, and then that's going to put me at a disadvantaged position. But being able to show people that actually when we collaborate, we both walk away with something better. It's such a key part, I think, of leadership, and you're absolutely right. So if you were to give me 3 key traits that you think every successful leader should have, what would those 3 be and why?
I would say humility and a learning and development spirit is the first one, the fundamentals. I don't think anybody wants an arrogant person who knows it all or who feels superior to everybody else on their team. I mean, people are more likely to collaborate and cooperate with people who are open to new ideas and willing to learn and are flexible about what they know vis-a-vis what is required. I think that's the first one. The second is understanding your weaknesses and seeking out for support, mentorship, coaching from people who have strengths in that area. And that also adds on to being a humble enough person to be brutally honest with yourself that these are my gaps, these are my weaknesses. I need somebody else or other people to support me in my areas of weaknesses. And then apart from intellectual competence, you definitely need a network of resources and support to be able to achieve things faster. So if I had a problem now, I probably am blessed with networks in terms of my memberships of associations, institutions, societies, networks I've been involved in or co-created, people I have worked with in the past. So being in a network and having integrity in that network and being identified as a value creator and a contributor of positive ideas or solutions within that network, as in being an active participant in the network, enables you achieve your goals faster. So I'll say those are my 3 key areas. So one will be humility, learning and development, continuous learning and development. The second will be the ability to seek out mentors and coaches and support where you have your weaknesses, of having been brutally honest with yourself that you have weaknesses and you need support. And then being in a vibrant network and being a contributor and not just somebody who only reaches out when they need something, but you're also giving and getting in the network.
Right. I think those three are really, really key, especially the humility. I don't think, I don't think leadership is, or rather, I don't think humility is associated enough with leadership. I really think it's key because if you're not humble, like you say, you don't communicate your need for your team as well as you could. And we all know that we cannot, one is just too small a number to achieve anything of significance. We all need each other. So I think humility is really key, but obviously the network as well, collaboration, especially I think after COVID, it's been so obvious that we need to collaborate with others to achieve the things that we want to achieve. It could be collaborating within your organization or collaborating with those outside of your organization, but moving away from that space of competing and trying to hoard. I think for me personally, collaboration is not my natural go-to. On the disc spectrum, I'm a D. I'm a DC. So for me, it's also get up and go, get up and do. But I've had to learn to even slow down to get the benefit of being able to collaborate with others. Because they say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. So it might be faster to go alone, but if you're going to go the long haul and actually achieve things that you perhaps you never thought you could achieve, you definitely need the right people in your corner. So I think that's really, really key. So I'm going to ask you then, looking back, because I would definitely call you a barrier breaker. As a female, you've already said, not just female, but you're black. You're a black woman in a very male-dominated space, in the STEM space. So I am sure you've had to break through several barriers to get where you are today. So can you just share with us what you think are some of those things that have helped you as a person to continue to break those barriers, both in your academics and in your practical everyday working life?
Okay, thank you so much. So I would say that having studied, I think furthering my studies from a BSc to a PhD helps me acquire additional knowledge in my area of core competence, which has given me some advantage. So, I mean, if a short list were to come up, I'll probably stand out because I'm a PhD, I'm female, I'm Black. So I tick quite a lot of diversity boxes apart from the qualifications I have. Because, I mean, the number of engineers who have a PhD are not as much. So that gives me some advantage. I would also say that having a thick skin has really helped me because in boarding school in England, I went to a Quaker school, I was exposed to racism. But I quickly realized that for me to succeed, I had to focus on why my parents had spent so much money sending me to an expensive boarding school in Saffron Walden. And I just decided, focus. Let's get these A-levels out of this place and get out of this place. So I grew a thick skin because I didn't want to be distracted. And then when I got to Queen Mary University of London, we were only two ladies in a class of 50, civil and structural engineering. Discrimination came again from some extreme, either white male or gender biased male. And focus. Same thing worked, got a first class, moved on to University of Bradford, where I did my PhD. I was the only female in a group of, I think 12 men, 12, no, 11. So we're 12 in that cohort. And focus again. So growing a thick skin is very important. Sometimes I appear in a boardroom, I mean, maybe in the UK, and for the first time, people don't even know what I'm doing there. I mean, much earlier, before, people identified who I was. They probably think I was maybe a secretary or a tea lady or something. And then I'd have to let them know that I was really there and I'd earned a seat at the table. So a thick skin became very useful. And above all, I'll say the knowledge. I'm one of those people who's so hungry for knowledge. I have Google Alerts, I read journals, I attend conferences, workshops, I present papers. So I have to do the research to come up with the PowerPoint presentations. So I'm very curious about knowledge. And I spend so much time with the next generation, investing in developing talent for the future, for jobs of the future. So I get a lot of knowledge from co-creating ideas with the younger generation. So I mean, I'm very into tech and STEM. So that gives me an advantage. Once I am identified as somebody who is contributing positively and in a visionary and innovative manner at the boardroom level, then I earn my respect. But till I get to that point, I'm thick-skinned enough to ignore any distractions. So I must say that being very focused is so important. Knowing your strengths and bringing your strengths to the table and to the fore is also very important. And basically not being suspicious about people having an attitude, giving everybody the benefit of doubt. So I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I'm not suspicious that you're a racist or you're out to get me. No, I don't have that. I'm very focused on the value I have and the value I want to deliver. And that's really helped me, I must tell you. And focus, I will say focus. I'm very focused about what I want to do and where I'm going and how I plan to get there. So, I mean, bring it on. I'm just not bothered about distractions.
I love it. The Life and Leadership Podcast is brought to you by Can Do Academy, where we help organizations develop high-performing teams and extraordinary leaders. To find out more about our work, visit candoacademy.net. And do join us for part 2 of this episode.
Thank you for listening to the Life and Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit the subscribe button. That will help us reach more people and inspire more leaders. See you on the next episode.